Your Olympic hero has arrived. It's true, it's true.
You're watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to another response video. Apologies for my voice in this video, but that's why I'm doing this response instead of another video. I wanted to do some more Go Nagai content, but my voice is still kind of fucked. So instead of doing a proper review, I'm going to wait till my voice is better to do that, and for this, what I'm going to do is respond to some of Corbin's old Devilman content. Now, Corbin did a bunch of Devilman content back when Crybaby first came out in 2018, because Crybaby was actually his introduction to the series, and his opinion has shifted pretty radically on it, so we're going to take a look at all of his 2018 Devilman videos. So rather than just focusing on one video, we'll be looking at all of his Devilman content from 2018, with the exception of the stuff that I was in, because I already did a compilation of that, and those were just me doing videos for his channel. He did also do a re-review of Crybaby in 2020, which was much more negative and is much closer to his current thoughts. He does not like Crybaby, and he likes the rest of the franchise more. But as you'll see in this older content, that is a later development, because earlier on, he was very, different in his opinion, to say the least. This video will contain spoilers for Devilman Crybaby and the Devilman OVAs. To start off, we'll look at his original Crybaby review, which he later retitled Devilman Crybaby, but my opinion is stupid.
Devilman Crybaby is about this guy named Akira and his friend Ryu.
Now notice he called him Ryu. I've made that mistake before too. I've also called him Ryo, even though I've always known his name as Ryo. I've slipped up on it a few times, so I can't give him too much shit about it, but I will point it out.
Who have to find out about demons at this party, and he basically tries to summon demons.
I pointed this out before, but the way that the Sabbath works in Crybaby is fucking retarded by making it just like this hot new trend that all the kids are doing instead of having it be something that Ryo specifically set up.
And when Ryu summons these demons, he tries to get Akira possessed by a powerful demon named Amon. And Amon does possess Akira, but he makes him into a devil man, because he doesn't completely possess him. He keeps his human heart, but his body changes. And after his body changes, he goes around fighting other demons to protect people from them. But soon, people start finding out about the demons and start freaking out, killing innocent people, plunging the world into a chaotic, apocalyptic world. And Devilman has to tell everyone that there are other Devilmans out there who are innocent people who just look like demons, and they don't deserve to die.
Yeah, and something I hate about that is in Crybaby, they make that so much of a focus that it becomes more about being against racism than being anti-war like the original was. Because let's face it, the demons are all evil. So it makes sense to discriminate against demons. Devilmen, how do you know that's not a fucking lie? Like, it's not, and the people are horrible when they do all the bad stuff, but it's an understandable thing to happen.
Now, I've seen some of the original Devilman OVA, and I've seen, like, a really tiny bit of the 70s show. I didn't think they were anything spectacular, but
obviously Corbin no longer agrees with that statement. He thinks that they are both far superior to Crybaby now. In fact, the 70s version is his favorite. Then, I think, Ammon, then the OVAs. Although I do kind of count Ammon as part of the OVAs myself. Although I think he might make the distinction, which, you know, that's fair. It is very different than the other two.
I could see why people like them. I couldn't get into them, but Devilman Crybaby was a really good show.
Again, him saying he couldn't get into them is really funny to me. There's also a comment he left on one of my videos saying, I don't think I'm going to get into any other Devilman content. And then he simply immediately proceeded to watch, like, all of it. Also, to be clear, that comment is like 5 years old. It says 1 year ago because I took the screenshot like a year after he posted it.
Now, if I had anything to complain about the show, it would be about the animation. It does get really goofy at times, and it doesn't really fit the rest of the show. Now, after watching this, I want to see other versions of Devilman that I've learned about adapted into this style.
I think it's funny that he talks about how bad the animation is, but then he says he wants to see the other versions adapted into this style? What the fuck? This style is what sucks dick! What are you talking about, past Corbin? Like, I think you yourself, if you were listening to this, would be fucking confused as to what the hell you were on about. Obviously, you don't want it in this style. We want it in actual Go Nagai style.
Like Violence Jack and Devil Lady.
I don't think either of those would work in this god-awful style. Granted, Devilman doesn't work in this god-awful style. Again, us hating on the style is a hot take that we both have. Like I said, Corbin agrees with me on this now. If anything, he's harsher on Crybaby than me nowadays. But for some reason, everybody praises the fucking art style, which granted, neither of us ever did, because we both used to have more positive takes on it, myself as well.
I didn't really like the show's attempts at comedy because I never really thought any of it was funny. The drama and the action is way better than all the comedic moments of the show.
That's because the comedy in Crybaby does not understand Go Nagai's sense of humor. Because Go Nagai's stuff is always comedic to some extent. There's a certain goofiness to pretty much all of his mangas, even the more serious ones, but his goofiness is very different than this weird modernist goofiness that we see in Crybaby.
Now, I'm kind of upset that a show this good is a Netflix original because Netflix really does restrict a lot of potential most good shows have.
I would say that the main thing that Netflix restricted in this case was distribution. Obviously, since there's no official physical release in the US, there is a Japanese Blu-ray, but it's hella expensive. Other than that, you're basically stuck with Malaysian bootlegs, or just pirating it, or, you know, obviously watching it on Netflix. But as far as content, they didn't really restrict it. It was much more extreme. Maybe they pushed for it to be more edgy and extreme, because there's a lot more sexual content and gore in this than there is in the source material. This is more in line with, like, Lady in that regard. But I think that Lady even has it better and more tasteful, even though Lady is like straight up hentai at times. I honestly think that the sex scenes in Lady are less gross than this, even though it's fucking demon rape in Lady. Because Akira just fucking like jizzes on his ceiling in Crybaby, and it's fucking disgusting because it like drips down onto him. It's fucking stupid. Yeah.
Such as BoJack Horseman doesn't have its own DVD, even though I'm sure lots of people would love to buy it.
Obviously, that comes down to the physical releases. There are some Netflix shows that do get physical releases, you know, like Stranger Things and Castlevania. And obviously, speaking of BoJack Horseman, I think that is the most overrated fucking Netflix show ever. I think Crybaby's close, but I think BoJack's a little bit more overrated, because everyone acts like BoJack is this fucking dramedy masterpiece, and it's just not. Like, BoJack has good stuff. Maybe Crybaby's more overrated. I don't know, actually. It's hard to say. They're both pretty fucking overrated. And I like BoJack. Do I like BoJack more than Crybaby, actually? I might, honestly, because Crybaby is a really bad adaptation. I don't care if something is necessarily a bad adaptation, because, you know, there are adaptations I prefer to the originals. But with Crybaby, I think that, you know, it's such an insult to the source material, and that the source material is so radically better, and obviously comparisons will naturally be drawn. The point is, BoJack is also overrated. There we go. That's a very long-winded way, with my awful fucking voice, of saying that both of these shows are fucking super overrated.
And I think that really restricts them, and I'm hoping that this show does eventually come out on DVD.
As of right now, in the US, it has not.
This show does have a lot of fan service, but I just want to talk about the gore, because the rest doesn't really matter that much to me.
I would say that the sexual content is, like, gross a lot of the time because of the weird body proportions, the strange decision, like having Akira come on the ceiling, the gay sex that was added in that wasn't in the original, and just how fucking horny the show is, like, all the time. Like, don't get me wrong, I love me some hentai. I watch Toshio Maeda all the time. But with Crybaby, it just feels kind of forced.
The gore in this is just great. People's heads fly off, people get cut in half, there's like these weird tentacle monsters that rip in through people. It's great, it's amazing to watch.
I would say that the gore itself is good, despite the art style. Like, the art style makes the gore less cool, but I do like the amount of gore it has. And, like, I guess one could try to make the argument that that's forced in the same way that the sexual content is, because I'm not inherently turned off by sexual content or gore, but I feel like the gore was handled better than the sexual content, although, obviously, Crybaby has a lot more of both than the source material.
Overall, the show is great with some minor flaws, and I suggest you watch it even if you don't like anime. If you're like a horror and drama fan, you might like this show, even if you don't like anime.
I think it's funny that he's trying to appeal to normies in this by saying, watch this even if you don't like anime. But the thing is, this show does appeal to normies. He's right. Like, this is the most fucking normie Devilman there is, and that's why I'm glad the normies can just have this one and stay the fuck out of the other stuff. Leave that to us, the actual fucking fans of Go Nagai. Stay the hell out of that. You just stick with your faggy Crybaby and we'll keep the cool shit.
You can get used to the animation. It even bugged me a little bit at first, but I shortly got used to it.
Look, I could overlook it if that was the only problem, and there are some aesthetics that I don't mind, but the modernization, I think, is a large part of the aesthetic that I also don't like, because in addition to that causing plot problems, I think, it also does cause some visual stuff that just doesn't really fit with Devilman. Also with Crybaby, another problem I obviously have with it is the pacing is much worse. It gets rid of key character development, just omits really important plot events. Like, Crybaby has so many fucking problems. So next up, we're going to look at his review of the OVAs, the first two OVAs, which he actually retitled simply Fuck You, which I think is great. I love some of his funny retitles, so that's one of them.
You might be asking yourself, well, you were doing a Devilman Crybaby Part 3 thingy, weren't you? I thought you were gonna do that. Why are you doing this Devilman OVA review first? Well, the answer to that is, I just wanted to make this review. So screw you.
What he's referring to there is, he did the first two parts of a overanalyzing, essentially, of Devilman Crybaby with me, and then he was going to do the third on his own. He actually never did that third part. I guess what functions as that is his, his revisit of Crybaby that he did in 2020. Obviously, that wasn't exactly the follow-up he originally planned.
This show starts off really weird, though. It starts off with these angel creatures getting eaten gruesomely by giant frog demons.
Something I think is funny about that is I think Corbin really likes the intro to the OVAs now, so it's funny he would, kind of almost criticize it there.
Then it cuts to Akira, gonna feed his bunnies, and he comes with the food, he goes to the cage, and there's blood, and there's guts, there's all mangled dead bunnies that are dead because they're mangled and dead and stuff. And he's freaking out, and he's all sad, but then he sees that there's a bunny that's still alive, but the greaser guys want to kill that bunny, and he won't let them, he won't do it. The scene's kind of pointless, though, because you never see those guys again.
I don't think Corbin would agree with that now. Corbin fucking loves the greasers now. The scene is obviously not pointless, even just in the context of the OVA. It's to establish that Akira is pure of heart and full of courage. Because obviously he's pure of heart because he cares about the lives of the rabbits, and he has courage because he's willing to stand up for said rabbits, even in the face of astronomical odds.
But then best waifu Miki shows up and makes everything better.
Kinda cringe, honestly.
Until Ryu shows up. Ryu is a bit of a weird character, though. He's cool and everything, but he's pretty weird. And I think it's weird that Akira just wanders with this guy everywhere and does whatever he says. He threatens Miki with a knife. He says some horrible, violent jokes about his own dad. And he just seems like he sets off all the red flags.
So obviously I think Corbin would agree that that was a terrible assessment of Ryo. First off, he called him Ryu again, which again, common misconception that I did too somehow. So I don't know how I've done that slip up in the past, even though I've always known his name, so Corbin's done it too. I guess Ryu just sounds more like a name. But second off, to say that why would Akira go with him? Well, it's his most trusted friend who's clearly in distress, and he clearly wants to see what the fuck is up with this. I mean, I went over this with Bennett the Sage in that video, so obviously I'm just retreading old territory at this point. And those quote-unquote jokes about his father, well, I think that's all just dub stuff, right? I think that's probably in reference to, smoking is bad for your health, especially when it's your own skin you're smoking, which, again, the dub is fucking retarded, and that's why I love it. But there's a reason that I absolutely always recommend watch the fucking sub first.
And Akira's just like, he good person, best friend, 10 out of 10.
Hello? That's not funny!
It's his old friend. You know, how the hell has he been keeping them? But he's clearly distressed. It's not like he thinks, oh, he's a good person. He's like, what the fuck's going on? Rio is really acting up. I need to figure out what the hell's going on. What the hell would get him this fucking stressed out and erratic? It's pretty logical that if your friend is freaking the fuck out and you actually care about them, you're gonna want to figure out what the hell is happening.
Then Ryu explains to him that demons are real, his dad's dead, takes him to a house in this weird cave place where they try to put on a dead demon's head. You know, the kind of normal stuff friends do together. And right after, like just 2 seconds after, Ryu blows the brains out of a demon's skull with a shotgun. He tells Akira, only a demon can kill a demon.
Hey, look at that, the same argument I had to make with Bennett. Obviously, that's something that isn't exactly conveyed the best, but he's saying that it takes a demon to go against the full force of the demons. You can kill lesser demons with simple means. But one of the big ones? Nuh-uh. And how do you even know that it's necessarily dead? How do you know blowing its brains out actually killed it? Like, obviously it stopped it temporarily, but how the fuck do you know that's actually the end? It probably is, because that's a lesser demon. I was kind of trying to say, hypothetically, it might have been able to regenerate from that, but obviously, since it's a lesser demon, it's dead. But, again, how do we know that for sure? Hypothetically, it could regenerate. But that's the point, is like, this is an oversimplification that everyone just takes that one line and exaggerates the hell out of it to think that that means that weapons are completely useless. When Rio says that weapons are useless, he is referring to on a grander scale. In order to actually be a threat to demons, you need the power of a demon. Sure, there's some smaller ones you can take on with weaponry, but that's not going to last you in a full-scale demon invasion. Especially with some of the heavier hitters like Jinmen and Siren. Not to mention demons like Xenon.
Clearly, and Ryu takes Akira to this party called the Sabbath and starts killing people with a bottle. You know, like a good, nice, very gentle person does.
It is literally never stated, implied, or intended for you to think that Rio is a good, nice, or sweet person. That's not something that you are supposed to fucking think. The only information we have about him at the beginning is he is Akira's friend, who Akira clearly cares about. That's all we fucking know. And obviously with the revelations later, it makes sense that he does a bunch of evil shit.
But, you know, they needed blood to summon the demons, and after the demons show up, Akira gets possessed by a devilly demon and starts calling himself Devilman, and he just goes around killing all the other demons. So then, as Devilman, he's sworn to kill all the demons.
No, John, you are the demons. And then John was a zombie!
And that's sort of the end of Volume 1, and that leads to Volume 2, which is about a bird lady, so is gonna be good. But first, you get introduced to the anti-war turtle. I call him the anti-war turtle because he's against war. He even says it himself. He's like, I only kill to eat, but you humans, you kill not for eat, you kill for kill. Yes, very bad humans.
Again, I don't think that's intentionally supposed to be a fucking message. That's Jinmen's own justification. He is justifying it himself. And, like, maybe there's a little bit of commentary labeled in there, sure. But Jinmen's obviously fucking manipulating that to try and make Akira think that he's in the right.
But after Devilman absorbs the power of Mother Death, he says, I don't care, and just kills the turtle. Yes, very beautiful, like reading Shakespeare.
What the fuck?
I think Corbin would be really pissed at his past self for that dismissal of the Jinmen scene, because Jinmen is objectively the best scene in the OVAs. Jinmen is one of the best parts of the story, so his belittling of it, I'm sure, would piss his current self off.
But then a ghastly water demon shows up and tries to kill Miki, but then good old Devilman Akira boy comes to save the day. But then something or other happens, and this leads to a fight with the big boob demon bird lady, Siren. But then Siren gets the crap beat out of her and runs away and asks the devil for a teammate. And then out of nowhere, this little tiny little turtle spike guy shows up. And he's like, yo, let's fuse. She's like, no, I'm gonna die soon. We can't do that. And he's like, no, seriously, let's fuse. I'll kill myself. And he just kills himself. She's like, oh, well, I guess I have to fuse now.
Obviously, Kaim is not the best introduced character. I'll be the first to admit that, obviously. Kaim is not the best written in the original story. Kaim is just a mega simp that we don't know a whole lot about. But here's the thing that I think people overlook with that. Go Nagai respects his audience enough to realize he doesn't need to tell you every fucking thing about this character. You can just be like, oh, these two have a history, and just fill in that gap. You don't need every single fucking detail. Now granted, like I said, Kaim is not the best written. He's just a simp. That's his entire character in the first story. He gets a little bit more expanded in the sequels, although he becomes even more of a simp. But he is better written in the sequels. And obviously, he's not the best part. Also, asking the devil for help is a dub thing. It's actually Xenon that she asks for help. But regardless, that's beside the point.
And then Devilman gets so close to dying. He's like 2 seconds away from dying. And she just dies before she can kill him. She just dies.
Yeah, because the fusion was not enough.
So that's pretty lucky for Devilman.
Yes, he did win based completely on luck as far as her dying. However, he did actually fuck her up, so he still won by skill. He just got lucky that it was her mind that took over and killed them both.
Now, that is the ending of part 2, but there is this kind of sort of part 3 called Amon, the Apocalypse of Devilman, which I will review some other time. So sorry, it'll be like another ending review, so I got 2 Devilman ending reviews to do. I'm just piling this all on. Now,
and obviously he did review Ammon, and Ammon is his favorite of the OVAs, so there you go. Although I don't know if it was when he did his Ammon review, we'll see.
In conclusion, I do think the Devilman OVA is really, really good, but I don't think it's nearly as good as Crybaby was.
What an awful take he used to have, and I remember I shit on him so much when he said that. Even back then, even when I had a more positive view of Crybaby, because the OVAs are so fucking much better. Like, what a fucking brain-dead take he had back then. Jesus Christ.
By the way, if you're going to watch this, I don't recommend the dub. If you're going to watch it, you probably don't want to watch the dub.
Obviously, I think Corbin and I would both agree that you should watch the dub. However, you should watch the dub second. Watch it subbed first. The dub is fun and stupid and cheesy. You don't want that to be your introduction. But after you've seen it, revisiting with the dub gives you a whole other experience that's definitely worth it as well.
Now, all the moments that are supposed to be sad, I feel like Crybaby just pulled off more.
Like, if we're talking, like, towards the end of Crybaby, I think Crybaby handles the sad moments really well, specifically with Miki's death. But that's like it. All of the other sad moments in Crybaby are just like, oh look, Akira sees someone else sad, now he's gotta cry for like 10 minutes like a pussy.
They were kinda sad in this, but not nearly as dramatic as they were in Crybaby.
The thing is, you don't really have a lot of the sad moments in this part of the story, so that's kind of a stupid thing to say. This is literally the first 2 volumes. All it has is the first couple of fights. There's not really a lot of sad moments, and you're comparing it to something that adapts the whole story. So that's just a stupid statement to make, because you're comparing late manga stuff that was adapted into Crybaby to a series that didn't adapt it because the OVAs didn't get that far. Also, and I think current Corbin would agree with me on this, the OVAs had the Jinmen dramatic and sad scenes way fucking better than the retarded Jinmen scenes in Crybaby. Again, Crybaby does a couple of scenes really well, but that's like it.
And Ryu just doesn't feel like he was as important of a character.
Now that, I think, is a really fucking funny take, because Rio in Crybaby is one of the worst written things. Crybaby Rio is a fucking terrible character with absolutely no development and pacing issues like a motherfucker. And I know I said I'd be doing all of them, but you know what? I'm getting lazy, so we're gonna call it here and make this a multi-parter. So there's my response to Corbin's first 2 Devilman videos, comprising Crybaby and the OVAs. We'll take a look at his videos on the manga, the movie, Ammon, and other stuff in later videos. Will it just be one more? Will it be multiple more? Wouldn't you like to know, Weather Boy?
What am I watching? I don't know, but I hate it.
Subscribe, the Fugitive Red Eye.